thing.
It's like a minor 7.
I don't know what any of that means. I'm not musical, even though I have played instruments.
You love minors.
I especially in this climate. I don't know why you'd make that joke in particular.
What, Mediterranean?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, John, what instruments do you play?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, because when I was in elementary school, I played the drums briefly, about at the level you would expect, a kid to play. And then I played the viola, and I got okay at the viola. I thought it was fun.
Sing the blues, John. So,
No,
John,
I do know how because I watch TV.
The unusual thing in your list is the viola.
Why
viola?
And why is my
Violins for pleasure.
It was a cooler, deeper violin.
Hell yeah, you get those, but not a bass, which is a cool, deeper violin.
I mean, do you think that we had a bass program?
I don't want to go. I don't want to be crazy here, so keep that cello, Yo-Yo Ma.
We did have the cello, but that's unreasonable.
Yo-Yo Mama's stand-up bass is so small, it's a cello. I just wrote that.
This is the most consecutive seconds of talking about music that there have ever been on this program. Have you watched Beyonce's new thing?
No, but it's about her kids.
Is it? I watched a good portion of the last one.
I have only seen that Blue Ivy steals the show.
Okay, so I know this happens every week, so I should have learned, but the garbage can that I need to dump stuff into is also my garbage can, and it's full of stuff, including a pair of shoes.
John, I will say this, and only this.
What's that?
It's 10 o'clock. We should start the damn show.
Oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea. They're probably waiting. I can't tell, but they're probably waiting. But you know what? Let them wait. I kid. Okay. Okay, I need you to guarantee that when I press this button, there will not be any more of that. That's a good end note. Literally. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode here at the Damage Report, closing out the week under quarantine with a dangerous situation brewing. Not just nationally, we're going to be talking about that, but I can hear my dog sniffing to come in, and if the dog starts barking, there's nothing I can do about it because we're live on the internet, so we're going to find out what happens. Who has more willpower, me or the pooch? Or Brett, I guess, because Brett, host of Happy Half Hour, joins us as he always does on Fridays. How's it going, Brett?
Forceps. 2 biceps is a forceps. Never thought about that until this moment. John, it's a weird morning. Everyone feels weird. Everyone's on edge. Mm-hmm. Life is different. If you want to feel even more uncomfortable than everyone does right now, today on the Happy Half Hour, Bart Kyle and I have a conversation.
That sounds fun.
Do you think there was a lot of music happening before the show started today? OMG, you gotta watch the show.
Wow.
And then later, though I have to send a confirmation email or two. John, you're going to be on Common Room tonight. Yeah.
I am, and that's going to be fun as well. And, I know there was very good response to a guest a couple of weeks ago, Viviana Vigil. She's going to be on Common Room tonight as well, so everyone should definitely check that out. You know, one other thing you can check out, though, on Monday, August 3rd, TYT is going to have a special screening of the documentary film Parkland Rising that I just talked with, Parkland father and activist Fred Guttenberg yesterday. That is up on the channel. That's going to be coming out on the 3rd, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, following the stories of the students and their families and what's happened since that tragic shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And so you can tune in on YouTube on the Young Turks and at tyt.com/live and check that out. We're going to be reading your comments and super chats and all of that as we go. But today we're on turbo time. So
and just really quick before we get into it, this is not important, but I have to say, go to our 2-shot, please. John and I today are wearing one shirt with 2 head holes. And that is the theme of the show today.
I like to maintain the illusion that we're not sitting next to each other. I think we've done a pretty good job. And we've gone this pandemic. People don't know that we live together.
Yeah, John.
Wait. Bink. Bink.
Okay.
The
Now that we've done
illusion
that
is
nonsense,
maintained. Okay.
we're in a strict no-nonsense policy.
No nonsense. Okay, we've gone 3 days with no nonsense, and we're gonna see if we can make it to the rest. But with that, let's jump right into it. The national strategy to deal with the coronavirus has been flawed from the beginning, in no small part because it doesn't exist. And there is no national strategy. And why isn't there? Because originally it sounded like there was going to be, and the government made the wise decision of putting their best sort of man in charge. In March and early April, Jared Kushner, noted relative of Trump, a senior White House advisor, led a task force parallel to the White House's official efforts to devise a plan to accelerate coronavirus testing and supply chains nationwide. Ultimately, that was abandoned, and President Donald Trump shifted much of the responsibility for controlling outbreaks to individual states. The idea was going to be that in addition to all the stuff the coronavirus task force was doing, is he's going to figure out the whole supply chain thing, make sure that we have enough tests so that we can expedite both the growth of tests, but also getting the results back quickly. That never happened, which is why many people still have to wait 1 to 2 weeks to get their results, which becomes sort of a philosophical thing. It's like, do I have it? Let me wait long enough that I'll either fight it off or be on a ventilator by the time I get my test result back for many people. Now, why did that happen? Why did they set it aside? We do not know for sure, but there is an amazing report by Vanity Fair talking to one of the individuals involved in that effort, saying that a sentiment one expert said a member of Kushner's team expressed was that because the virus had hit blue states hardest, which was at that time true, a national plan was unnecessary and would not make sense politically. Quote, the political folks believe that because it was going to be relegated to Democratic states, that they could blame those governors, and that would be an effective political strategy. Not an effective public health strategy.
No.
What?
Fauci's the one who's politicizing this. Fauci's the one who's using political, because you've heard of political science. Science is in political science. His, as scientist, political. It is that which is politicizing this, not Kushner and company, who allegedly just told you that they were going to politicize it. And if you close your eyes and get in touch with your feelings, you know it to be true.
And by the way, totally true. So let's say, okay, the theory being put across by this person who was involved in it by Vanity Fair is they thought about doing something about it, then realized, it's only going to hit blue states. You know what? Let's not deal with it, and then we'll just blame them. Okay, so that is an incendiary possibility, and we can't know for sure, but let's look at two parts of that and see, with what has developed over the past few months, is it true? So, did they set aside the strategy? They did. It didn't actually bear any fruit. So the first part, in terms of them setting aside, is true. Now, that doesn't necessarily get to the motivations, but the second point is, did they turn to just blaming governors and, in some cases, mayors? Yeah, they totally did that. He still does that. I mean, he's sort of pivoted to blaming them for chaos in Portland or whatever, but he is still blaming the blue state governors. Despite the fact that most of the states hard to sit now are red, he's still blaming Democratic governors. So it kind of bears out.
This actually seems kinder to me than what other things that it is. I feel like it's proven that they've done. Which if it was just this, that would be bad enough. But in other situations, they actively got in the way of Democratic governors and legislators, so that they could hand political wins to other people. I know in Colorado there was a situation where if left to their own devices, the state would have acquired something like 500 or like 800 ventilators or something. But because the Trump administration wanted to deliver a win to specific legislators and political figures within that state, they put the stop on the original ask and then supplied a smaller number in a way that they could say, at least the Republicans gave you this, and as a result, the Republicans are looking out for you. And that is across the board. That's what I've been saying for a very long time, that they do not want to beat coronavirus. They just want to beat Democrats.
Yeah.
And that's a huge mistake. And that has borne out today as the Republicans just kind of tuck tail and go out on their August recess, because they just don't want to actually help people. They just feel like they're in a secure enough place to secure a political victory.
Yeah.
and they don't want to actually deliver aid to human beings.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up. We're going to have more on that later on. But yeah, this appears to have been the case. You know, the Vanity Fair article goes on to say that, quote, it was very clear that Jared was ultimately the decision maker as to what plan was going to come out, and no plan came out. So we can't say for sure that this is why, but this was part of the discussion, and they didn't have a plan. Nothing came of it, and they have been blaming the governor, so it ain't crazy to think that that might be why. And by the way, in terms of politicizing this whole thing, we also know that this is as of Monday, reports emerge that Trump's pivot, for instance, to wearing a mask in public, sort of wanting to pretend that he takes this more seriously, you know, before he started tweeting out stuff about demon semen and everything, may have been motivated by advisors showing him increases in cases in Republican and swing states. So it seemed like when it was hitting blue states, that affected them to not take it seriously. And now that it's hitting red states, it's affecting them to sort of pretend that they're taking it more seriously. It's been political from the very beginning.
Absolutely. And you would hope that they'd be smart enough to look more than 5 minutes into the future. That's the problem. And every step of the way, the Republican side has been saying things that are like Dory from Finding Nemo. They only exist in this 14-second window. I mean, when there was a spike in infections, they were like, well, at least there's not a spike in deaths. It's like, well, wait 2 weeks, morons. There's going to be a spike in death. And lo and behold, there was. And then looking backwards, they say that the Northeast is actually a place where, in Trump, when he started resuming his coronavirus task force or his coronavirus press conferences, he pointed behind him and said one of his big victories was the Northeast, where things are looking very good. The South is a bit of a problem. The Northeast is all Democrats.
Yeah.
Those are the people that you left to fend for themselves. Those are the people you got in the way of, and they were absolutely able to eventually get around it. And it's your boys in the South that are screwing things up for everybody. And that is killing people.
And why don't we turn now to the most recent numbers? We haven't done this in a couple of days, but according to yesterday's report from the COVID Tracking Project, we have got 70,000 new cases, not the highest we've ever had, but right up near the highest we've ever had in a day. A solid more than 800,000 tests, which is good, and over 1,500 COVID-19 deaths reported in yesterday's report. The 7-day average is now over 1,000 once again. I believe that 1,500 reported in one day is the highest that we've had since the middle of May, several months ago. And so that is moving in the wrong direction. The good news that we have, if there can really be good news on a day where 1,500 people died from something that should have been wiped out months ago, is that the 7-day new case average is declining in all 4 of the hardest hit states: Arizona, California, Florida, and Texas, which, if this continues, implies 2 things: that death number should start to go down in 3 or so weeks, and that hopefully renewed media attention and pressure has gotten people to start taking this seriously once again. That when the numbers started to go up a couple of weeks ago, we started talking about it on a daily basis, telling people they got to take it more seriously. Hopefully that is happening.
And runner-up for Garbage Person of the Week for me was Laura Ingraham, who posted the Texas image that, you know, Texas shut down and after they shut down, they started seeing a reduction in cases. And Laura Ingraham is like, this is a huge win for Republicans, and the shutdown Democrats better watch out. It's like, listen, if you just listen to the people who did the work, your work would be done for you, as opposed, and this is, and a pandemic is actually, and I'm going to say perfect in a way that seems like I think it's a good thing, but I'm saying perfect in that it is the absolute, like, foil for how Republicans act in politics. It's everyone else you can outflank except science.
Yeah, except a
virus. You can outflank Democrats because, like, Democrats are probably playing some kind of game. You can outflank your opponent in some kind of political debate, but you can't. The only way you can outflank science is by listening to it, and that's the one thing they refuse to do. Yeah.
Okay, before we turn to other news, and we do have more on coronavirus, let's check in with some of your communications. Let's see. Zane says, is it liars? The liars, the instrument, are great, better than liars the other way. I think it's liars. because there was some music earlier on that you shouldn't have been able to hear, so I don't understand that. Jake Fisher, thank you for your super chat. Let's see. Sean says, John and Brett bringing comedy to tragedy every Friday. Thanks for keeping me sane. Thank you. Zane says the Blues Brothers are missing their sunglasses. It's funny. Here's the thing about glasses. So these are my glasses. I wear them to reduce eye strain. And I already get eye strain because I'm looking directly into a ring light, if you can't tell. And that is why I can't wear the glasses, because if I wear the glasses, then you get this. And nobody wants that, which is unfortunate.
I did.
Why is your audio so different?
Not because, I'll tell you why my audio is different, because my wife was like, is your audio selected correctly? And it wasn't.
Interesting.
And now
The question is it better? It's different. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can vote. Before or after? Let me know. But anyway, it still sounds good. Kai Allen sent it a super chat saying, thank you, John, for remembering, talking about a comment I made yesterday. I'm so serious, John, you should be a comedian. Obviously, Brett is a phenomenal comedian, but both of you make me cackle on a daily basis. Side note, check out The Old Guard on Netflix.
As a comedian, John is the straight man.
That is true.
He is a phenomenal one. He won't tell you that, but he actually is quite a phenomenal, naturally talented straight man.
Thank you. I've worked at it, not being funny my whole life. But thank you. And by the way, Kai, do you know me at all? You don't think that I've seen The Old Guard? I did. It was good. Not perfect. There were some issues I had with the music and the editing and stuff like that, but very cool concept, great performances and all that. A lot of cool characters in there. And I look forward to watching the sequel, which will almost inevitably come because it did really well. John Trindle wants more blues harp. Paul Sav says, all the best from Scotland, guys. Thank you, Scotland. Let's see. Franklin Sharpslicer says, a modest theory worth a query. GOP leaves with no relief, causing homeless with enough grief to protest enough to declare martial law, void the Constitution, yet there's a flaw to note. Those people will still vote. Do well. Franklin, you're the master. And Andrea, thank you for your thanks for being you emoji. I appreciate that.
And then Mufasha, thanks for the cheer. Hype Train started on Twitch. Everyone's freaking out. Anonymous just gave out a bunch of subs. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose it. There's a lot of hype. Obi Mom's the best. Obi Mom gave out some subs.
Awesome.
Malia Ann gave out has subscribed. Just some of the comments from that are Brett, from my wife, cheered 100 bits to say, Brett, are you sure your mic's selected on the Skype feed?
It does sound good. I can't now remember what it sounded like before, but it sounds good.
It was probably blown out because I was too close to it. She came in and subtly pushed it away. Now La Vida Pura gave a tier 1 sub, which is fantastic. Yeah. And I just want to thank everybody. Yo, Adrian said it's Doctor Strange and Iron Man. You guys can debate over which is which. I don't know what that means.
The whole week they've been declaring the people on the show as particular characters.
No. I don't watch the show. I don't watch the show.
Yeah, great. Awesome. By the way, I love that your wife, I guess it's a couple years ago, just decided, you know what? I'm going to learn all this tech and gaming stuff. And she just totally did. And now she's like an expert. It's amazing.
She did. And I want to say, our relationship's better for me being at the beginning, I was like a dad being like, get off the computer.
Yeah.
And then there was I think it was one day where I was like, who have I become?
Yeah. It reminds me, a long time ago, my father, so I built computers as a teenager. Like when I wanted a computer, I'd buy the parts, I'd build a computer. And I remember one day seeing my dad with Computer Magazine, I think it was called. It was I don't know if it exists anymore. It was that big. It was just about computers because the internet wasn't what it was now. I'm old. And he was going to build a computer. And I was like, okay. But he totally learned it. He read the Computer Magazine from front to back, learned everything he needed, built his own computer. And it worked.
So good.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love when people surprise you.
No matter how old you get, I'll be 1 year older.
That's the blues. Tony D with a bright red, very generous super chat saying, reality winner now has COVID-19, denied soap while Cohen is free again and no media restrictions. Yeah, that's a big old pile of injustices there. Okay, with that, let's jump back into the news.
Kim Sushi.
What happened with Kim Sushi?
Just gifted subs. Great. Fantasticness.
Awesome. Very nice. Okay, let's do this. Donald Trump is in a bit of a bind in terms of his campaign. He wants to get reelected, but he is presiding over a number of disasters that are far worse than they needed to be because of what he did and what he didn't do. And you'll notice that he hasn't been running a lot of ads that make any mention of the pandemic. There were numbers put out like yesterday that it has basically appeared in none of his ads. Well, that has now changed because he's got a new ad attacking Joe Biden, saying that Donald Trump was right on coronavirus, Joe Biden was wrong. Let's dive into this ad and see what we think.
On January 30th, the World Health Organization declared the Chinese coronavirus a global health emergency. President Trump acted immediately, announcing new travel restrictions on China.
Starting at 5 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, the U.S. will temporarily ban foreign nationals who pose a risk of transmitting the coronavirus from entering the country.
Democrats and the media attacked President Trump for these restrictions, but President Trump was right.
Every expert agrees now, looking back, that the president's call to restrict that travel from China pretty early on was a good decision.
But Joe Biden, he got it wrong. Biden tweeted the same attack about xenophobia again and again and again. As late as March 26, the Biden campaign still refused to support President Trump's action. Biden's staff would only say travel restrictions could be warranted. Finally, 2 months after President Trump's decision, Biden's staff claimed he supported them all along. They want to rewrite history. But no amount of spin can cover up the fact that Joe Biden got it wrong and President Trump got it right when American lives were at stake.
I love this.
That's a tough row to hoe, as they say. But what do you think?
I made my first shot, and I've missed every shot since. But I made my first shot. I struck out the first batter, and every other pitch I've thrown has been knocked out of the park because I am the worst pitcher in history. Yeah. That's what he's saying. It is amazing when he says things as late as March 20 whatever. It's like, well, since then, and concurrent with that, you've made hundreds of mistakes. And since then, you've made countless more. Mm-hmm. But your big thing, and it makes sense that he would say it because it's xenophobic, and the one thing that they've been like, you guys are pretending that I'm racist when you're racist, when your anti-racism is killing people. It's like, dude, you want to point to one decision, and I, since we're doing sports metaphors, want to go scoreboard. Scoreboard. You're in charge of this country that is the worst in everything, and yes, we have more infections than anybody else. We have more deaths. It is bad.
Yep.
We have done so poorly. And I, if I was consulting the Trump campaign, would not bring up coronavirus at all.
No.
Ever.
But this is the only way they've figured out to try to do it, is we're going to hone in on this one thing and say that we were right and they were wrong. And Trump was right when American lives were at risk. Let's not check in to see how that played out with those lives that were at risk. They were at risk. Lots of risk. Turned out it was a very real risk because 150,000 plus of them have died because Trump checked out after banning the travel. The thing is that this is like a big picture look at the way Trump is talking about banning the travel from China. Would you be surprised if I told you that it's also incredibly dishonest in virtually every way possible? Because this sort of attack that Trump banned travel, he locked it down to protect America, forgetting the fact that it was already in America, it was already spreading and all of that, and they were saying it's xenophobic, and they were wrong, has been dishonest from the very beginning. Because Trump didn't press a button that said ban travel from China. He did several things. It's dishonest in several directions. The first is he didn't entirely even ban travel from China. He banned some travel from China after people had already come back from China. So it's not the bold stance he wants to make it out to be. It's also not a sole stance, because at the same time, he also restricted travel from some of the countries he's been trying to restrict travel from in a general sense from the very beginning, countries that were not seeing coronavirus at that point. That was attacked as xenophobic fear-mongering, not locking down some Chinese nationals on a limited basis from coming in. So the attacks are incredibly dishonest, but even worse, because you know what I always like to do? Whenever you see them like quoting, like seeing a quote in a video like that or a tweet, take a look at it and see if it was actually honest. So I tracked down one of those Joe Biden talking about xenophobia tweets, and let's see. So Joe Biden did tweet back on March 12th, "A wall will not stop the coronavirus. Banning all travel from Europe," which they highlighted, "or any other part of the world will not stop it." He goes on to say, though, the disease could impact every nation and any person on the planet, and we need a plan to combat it. That is much less a tweet saying, I am opposed to all bans, and more a tweet saying, this is an international problem. Simply banning travel is not a miracle solution that is going to end it. It's going to be here, so we're going to need a plan. Trump is focusing on the ban and not on the lack of a plan because it did indeed ravage America worse than any other country. And so focusing on that part of the tweet, I guess maybe Joe Biden was initially against the limited restrictions you did do, but moreover, he was saying you have to have a plan and they haven't had one, and that ad doesn't even try to pretend that they did.
Yeah. So ridiculous. So stupid. I mean, Trump has spent so much time. He's not going to change now. That's the thing.
He's not.
And I would say a tiger isn't going to change his stripes, but he's just orange. So he's almost like a tiger. He's not going to grow stripes. The giant orange ball is not going to grow stripes suddenly. He, in his entire life, has picked one way to live, and it is equivocation and grift. And it has done very well for him, except in this case. And in this case, he could have just grown up. He could have just done the right thing. And there are many ways he could have acted intelligently and been able to reap the benefits. But Trump just hasn't. He would rather do BS like this.
Yeah. And I'll ask a question I've asked many times because I know at least one or two people I can see from the comments are right-wingers that are seeing this. So when we say locking down travel wasn't enough, you had to actually have a plan for when it hit here. And you guys say he nailed it. I'm totally fine with not having a plan. And I guess you agree with the end of that video saying that he did what was necessary when lives were at risk. I want you to take a look at what has actually happened, and I want you to be honest. If it wasn't Trump, would you be okay with any of this? If it was Barack Obama, if it was Jimmy Carter, if it was Hillary Clinton, if Hillary Clinton had locked down some travel from China and then gone on vacation for 5 months, and 150,000 plus people had died, including 1,500 just yesterday, would you be applauding her? Would you be satisfied? Would you be calling that a win? Would Fox News be pretending that it was totally fine that all of these people have died? Not one of you right-wingers watching that think even a small version of that hypothesis. You would be brutally attacking them, and you would be right to, because it is unacceptable. It is a catastrophe, a tragedy that continues to develop every single day. Stop lying. Or at least keep lying to yourself. I can't change that. Stop lying in my chat, basically. I can control that, I guess.
So good.
Okay, let's give a couple of updates on things from yesterday. I want to check in. Yesterday, Donald Trump did what many people have predicted he would do, started talking about potentially delaying the election. We're referring to this tweet, which we talked about on yesterday's show, where he said, with universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good. Nope, it's the same. 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It'll be a great embarrassment to the USA. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote, asks the president, with 3 question marks and a capitalized election. So he asked that. And, we were rightfully worried about that because this is in the middle of a fascist crackdown on protesters in a number of different cities. So the idea that he would try to cancel an election or postpone it is something we're worried about. He has responded to those concerns and given an update. But before we launch into that, Brett, you weren't on the show yesterday. So what did you make of his initial tweet?
His initial tweet was, it's a finally. He finally said the thing that he was implying. And it wasn't a shock. I've seen a couple really good angles on it, but they've all everything's been covered. How is it safe enough to send kids back to school, but not safe enough to vote? Mm-hmm. Well, the answer to that is he just wants to stay president. He's not going to quit. He's not going to back out. This is his sad attempt to get something into the national dialogue. That's how it works. And I've seen the responses since then. And I think it's at this point more interesting to talk about what he did next as proof of his strategy and relate it to the general governing strategy of Trump, discourse, the media, and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see someone in the chat saying, well, so won't it be fraudulent if he wins? Presumably.
No.
I think they'll work past that. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, they'll find I mean, listen,
okay.
Republican president has gotten the most votes. Mm-hmm. That is the batty, crazy fact of American electoral politics.
Yeah.
And everyone's been able to wrap their mind around that. So this would be easier for them.
Yeah, and the right-wing media is going to push past it just fine. In the words of a great movie, grift finds a way. They'll find a way to work past that. So let's get to his update. Today, facing a nation worried that he is going to, in an authoritarian fashion, just postpone an election, that he has no ability to do so, says, glad I was able to get the very dishonest lamestream media to finally start talking about the risks to our capital democracy from dangerous universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which I totally support. I love that he has to put that now because it was found that both he and literally everyone he's ever talked to have done mail-in voting, so now he has to always put that little thing. He then went on to say, must know election results on the night of the election, not days, months, or even years later. Nobody thinks years. What would that... Yeah, we're just going to wait. We're just going to chill for a bit as years roll by until we find out. No, it's a ridiculous dodge. So there, he is doing the thing that we sort of predicted yesterday. He's pretending he's just raising concerns. He's just a concerned citizen like anyone else. No, that's not what he was doing. That's, people's response. They're worried that he could, in the end, try to delay this or cancel it outright. I don't think that it's going to happen if I had to put money down on it, but the idea that it couldn't happen simply because it's illegal seems to me to be a bit naive, considering where we're at.
I have called this many times either the justice butthole or the Trump fart, which is... You don't like he puts something very uncomfortable inside your mind hole, and you're like, what? That's horrible. What? You can't do that. And just because of how brains work, he'll step back and say, don't worry. I that was a trick. I don't actually mean that. Anyways, here's how, by widening your justice butthole, you're letting other things kind of get through that way. That's really what it is. I don't know how else. I mean, sure, there's way more appropriate ways to describe it, but that's what he's doing. He now is trying to fit the something equally violating, but at least by comparison to delay the election, something that we've never, ever, ever done, something a smaller violator, which is. Let's get back to talking about how we all now know and accept that voting by mail is evil and wrong and corrupt. And he just keeps doing that until you don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
Until you don't feel it. And so much of the stuff that he's done is stuff that is wrong. It goes against the Constitution, but we just don't feel it anymore. Like, yeah, that's what I just said. Like, it's more interesting to talk about. Wait, what? Something is more interesting and more compelling to talk about than the president of the United States putting out there into the discourse, floating the idea that we could delay the election.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's a great strategy for him. It's made him president of the United States, but at what cost? At what cost to the office of the presidency? At what cost to the integrity of the United States? At what cost to our reputation around the world? I mean, there were many things we were doing in secret that people hated us for rightly. This stuff is so loud and so horrible that America can't even pretend to be the moral authority on the planet.
I agree. It's a great point. And I love that every week we start off with Francesca Fiorentini and her hashtag show us the undies, and we end with Brett and his justice butthole. Jesus. Okay, let's quickly go to just one additional thing. It's been making the rounds on the internet that Donald Trump, noted hater of any kind of vote that doesn't take place in person, had a bit of trouble back in the day on Access Hollywood when he tried to vote in person.
Oh, why? Do I have to go to a different place, actually?
Yeah. There's a little drama at the polling booth. We like
Do me a
that.
favor, double check.
We have the paperwork.
Double
It says
check.
this address.
Let me see what's I'm calling my lawyer right now.
Go ahead. Work on it. Wherever you want us to go. Where do we go? 520 Park Avenue. Okay, I like that location better. Hi, folks. How you doing? Make sure there's no cheating here, right? They don't have it here either. You believe this?
They don't have it in this book. He's not in my book either.
All right, so it's not here, right? Hi, fellas. How are you? You have my name here?
If his name is not on these rolls, there will be a huge combustion in here.
Well, I'm going to fill out the absentee ballot, and I've just voted. At least you can say the Trumpster doesn't give up.
That's right.
Right?
The Trumpster,
That's
and
the
then
only thing I want to talk about is that line.
The Trumpster, and then his tagline at the time was "You're fired." So we should have seen it coming. There would be a Trumpster fire.
So really fast on that.
I'm just gonna go.
If see you later. If randomly on the show, I at some point there's a problem loading a video, and I bear with me, and I work through it, and then finally I get it, and I say, you know what? At least we can say the Johnster doesn't quit. I would expect the entire audience to log off and no longer watch my show, and I would know that you were right to do so. Unacceptable.
The Ida rock and roller.
The Trumpster? You already call yourself Trump. In the third person.
Mega John.
That's not enough? Imagine if Brett called himself the Brett and then started Brettstering us. What a phenomenal many words that I can't use.
The Lickster.
Anyway, but to the substance, I guess, yeah, he had trouble voting, in part because it's a convoluted process that's far more difficult for a regular person to navigate than it needs to be, probably purposefully, and because he doesn't pay attention to any of the details because he's a massive idiot. It's a combination of those two things.
And the fact, he's saying that it's so difficult. It's so rife with random people voting under other identities. This is the problem with voting. Voting itself, don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the more obvious explanation? That he just wants you to believe that. It's disproven in that situation where he had trouble voting under his own name, which is something that, as you point out, people do. But what's the more obvious explanation for Trump at this point saying that voting is corrupt? Is it that it is actually corrupt? Or is it that Donald Trump just wants to win, and if we let everyone vote, he'd lose?
Yeah, really. And then that's one of the ones where we're not going to get the right wingers in the chat to agree, but they know. They know. That's part of their appeal to them. Do. And just the Trumpster. Oh God. And also, by the way, okay, so I guess I'm glad that Access Hollywood was following him around because, we got this video and earlier on we got another, totally should have disqualified him, but unfortunately we live in an incredibly misogynistic country, so it didn't. But why was he a thing at all? Look at him, navigating his day. He's got a lot of money. Yeah.
No, he's funny. He's funny. He was funny there.
Funny,
he was charming.
I've never thought that. And I know you're going to say, it's just because of the politics since 2015. No, I swear to God, I've never watched an episode of The Apprentice because I find the glorification of that sort of ridiculous, amoral, idolizing of wealth and brutal capitalism. The idea that we lifted up that guy, the guy known for firing people in this ridiculous artificial reality that he'd constructed. The whole thing, the obsession with him, whether it was restricted to New York or national, is disgusting. I never understood it.
So Trump is talented at identifying the ridiculousness in artifice and playing into it in a way that allows you to say this is all stupid. And there's good and evil to it. The good, I watched those early debates. I remember standing up in front of the TV because he was just handing it to Ted Cruz and all those cardboard politicians who are just saying things to get elected. But he did it. And if you watch that whole video, Trump, after he says the jackass type of thing, will then wink and smile at the people working the polls. He is funny. He does have some kind of emotional intelligence to really be able to navigate that in a way where he plays up being a hotshot, but in the room he can read the room he's in, which is good there. And
hold on,
was
I have a
good
question
during
about
debates.
That. So okay, so maybe you're right. He can read the room. He knows what this group that I'm not going to characterize, but you could probably fill it in for yourself, will want to hear. I get that. Why is it a necessary part of it that he has what you identify as a version of emotional intelligence, but he simultaneously, in communicating, can never tell when he is revealing his deepest fears and anxieties and weaknesses and those sorts of things? I know that it doesn't matter that he does that, because the people who like those jokes are immune to that. They don't see how fundamentally weak he is and everything. But he constantly does that by focusing on things. The man, woman, person, camera, TV thing. Like, he can't tell how insane he sounds sometimes, how fundamentally weak and all of that he sounds.
Well, because this is not the same world as 2004 and definitely 1984. It feels like 1984, but not actually 1984. And the definition of the room has changed because of his experience of being in those rooms, and also the insane amount of success that he has been able to achieve in a certain respect. He's been able to become like, when people say he's not a successful person, I understand that you mean at business he is not good. He is a better marketer than he is businessman, but he has become president of the United States, which is undeniably a position of success. Now, that success has warped his concept of what the room is, and his ability to be right in it. And so when he is sitting in a room, the rooms he's actually in, think about them. He has been in rooms full of rally goers. He is in rooms, and he has learned from that how to portray himself in other rooms to appeal just to that, and he keeps doing it. And the other people that he, in defeating the Ted Cruz's and the other people he ran against, everyone else was so scared of what Trump could do to them that now they're the Jim Jordans and the Matt Gaetzes that kowtow to him. So the room itself has adapted to Trump, and he's adapted to it, which is so frustrating to people who are outside that room, who are now just being able to, in a certain way, look onto that and see how ridiculous it is, which is more infuriating. However, the people inside that room, it's not just the people I listed, but also Fox News has been able to define the reality for everyone and get them in, I guess it's not a room anymore, now it's a bubble.
Agreed. Okay, let's read a couple super chats. We've got a few more stories to get to, including, if we can, because we got to end on time, garbage people of the week, so we'll see. Parker Lee says, Trump could have been the hero and more popular than Fauci when all he had to do was come on TV and ask Americans to come together and shut down for 3 weeks. I think more like 5 or 6, but an actual shutdown nationwide and get it over with, all because he can't stand bad news. Dumb. Parker, you're 100% right. Or I guess 99, since I criticized one part, but you're almost overwhelmingly right. Tails says, Friday, the end of another week that feels like a year. I moved to Vegas solo just weeks before lockdowns. As of today, I've been alone 128 days, but love you guys. My mom is a TDR virgin. She's watching first time today. Hello to Tails and to Tails' mom, who probably prefers that she hadn't been described in that way, but thank you.
Yeah, and also sorry about the Justice Butthole, but Obi-Wan Kenobi thinks it definitely is a thing now. So.
It is a thing. It's appeared more than almost anything else on the show. And to anyone who has had to ride out the pandemic entirely solo, without people or even without pets or anything like that, my heart goes out to you. I can't imagine. Rachel Rhodes says, if Trump decides to just straight up reject the election results or pushes the election back somehow, what the hell do we do then? And what do you think the public consequences of this would be? I have the set of things that I think the public consequences would be, and then I have the knowledge that the media has grown accustomed to the normalization of literally everything. So I don't think that it's going to happen, but if he decides to try to do it, 100% of Fox News is going to immediately be behind him. Basically, every Republican senator is going to immediately be behind him, and the Supreme Court could well rule in his favor.
I mean, the Constitution says that when Inauguration Day is, the Congress says when voting happens.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It is not up for debate or interpretation in terms of the law. The question is, does that matter? I mean, he was told there was that ruling about the Dreamers, and they put out a statement afterwards saying, no, we're not going to follow that. It was very clear they're not going to follow it, and then they immediately turned to that relic of the Bush years to say, let's figure out all the other ways that we can use executive orders to countermand the decisions of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have laws, if you can keep them.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean, it's not America anymore after that.
It isn't. Yeah, that's the fear. Elisa Burdick says, I'd still watch John even if he called himself Johnster. You shouldn't, but thank you. He's my TYT crush, plus he says my name right. I hope that I did. Thank you. And Miss Callie, thank you for the #1 fan. Appreciate that.
I do want to say that the hype train generated, which was successful, by the way, generated 19 subs and many bits. Evil Beans got on and gave away 5 tier 1 subs.
Awesome.
And Obi-Wan Kenobi continuing and Bubby Roller.
Thank you. And an anonymous gifter gave some subs as well. Thank you.
Tinkerbell Pixie.
Heat 420 says, is it blue t-shirt day? Hi, y'all. Yes, it was. Are you not wearing yours? Thad Thick says, when is Common Room again? Could you just quickly run us through that? And then we got to jump back into it.
Tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. John Shekels.
Nice.
Yasmin Aliyah Khan's on. And I forget her name. Is that the fourth one? I'm a jerk.
Viviana Vigil.
Viviana.
Okay, you're the worst. But anyway, you're still
yeah,
on.
That's true.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so let's jump back into it. We have to be very fast on this one, but we're gonna see what happens. Ted Cruz, I have long described as one of the most artificial fake politicians ever on either side. There's a lot of them. Politicians tend to be this way, but he is a wax candle of a man who acts in a Zuckerbergian fashion, kind of like a person. So I want to show you a video of Ted Cruz talking about masks, and I want you to see the way he says things, the body language, his attempt to mimic the way a politician is supposed to act when saying a thing like this.
I think the question of masks is overly politicized. I wear a mask regularly, particularly when I go out.
His hand gestures.
In public, when I'm on the Senate floor, I usually wear a mask. When I'm out at the grocery store, I wear a mask. I think it is strange to see masks treated as this political talisman. I don't particularly understand folks who say I'll never wear a mask no matter what, but I also don't understand a lot of Democrats who treat a mask as a sign of virtue. I recall one of my Democratic colleagues giving a speech on the Senate floor wearing a mask the whole time. There wasn't a person within 30 feet of him. That strikes me as a little loopy as well. My view is we ought to exercise some common sense.
Okay, I agree. We should exercise common sense. I just disagree about what that would look like. So, look, I want to talk about the content there for a little bit, but his little, I think that, I feel like, am I wrong? I feel like every way he speaks, every hand motion is a performance that maybe is ingrained in him now, but he taught himself to try to be folksy in that way. In his little slimy politician
100%.
Actor thing.
100%. For a guy whose every waking moment is some strange virtue signal to basically fit the center of the Venn diagram of John's desire. No, the Venn diagram of what his donors want him to say and what he thinks his yokel constituents want to say. In his mind, yokel constituents. Because he has he strongly detests the people that vote for him. No question. You'd be hard pressed to find someone who more strongly detests, besides Donald Trump, the people who vote for him. Ted Cruz, undeniable.
I agree. I agree.
But for someone who is always triangulating and signaling all the time performatively to his donors and his voters, for him to not understand why you would wear a mask while giving a speech before the Senate is utterly disingenuous.
Yep.
Because the reason you do that is to show people and to destigmatize it and to show them that it is not just
actual leadership.
Lead by example, and that's something that Ted Cruz will never ever do.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And the fake equating of those two things, that it's basically the same thing. I don't understand people who get in the face of someone stocking the shelves at Trader Joe's and yells at them about why it's their constitutional right to spread a disease, is the same as those people who act like it's a virtue. I don't get either of those things, I really don't.
Well, okay. He very carefully outlined the virtues of wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And then said, I don't know what the virtues are of wearing a mask.
By the way, you know what? Screw all of it. It's a virtue. If you go out and you do this thing And especially people getting criticized for wearing masks, as happens in a number of places, to protect other people, let alone yourself, and to follow what scientists want at a time when we are the hardest hit country in the entire world in this pandemic. It is a virtue. The bar is so low, but our country is so debased at this point that it is a goddamn virtue to actually give a damn about what happens to the people around you. And you know what? You know what's not the same? I'm on the side of the person who wears a mask when no one's within 30 feet a lot more than the guy who's like, 8 feet maybe from the reporters and refuses to put one on in an airplane.
Yeah, and that looked very Air Force One-y.
It might be.
There have been, I think it is. He was caught not wearing a mask on a commercial flight.
Yeah, he was. You know what? And, however much virtue signaling might annoy you or tweak you, and I get it. There are things that bother me too. A culture of vice signaling is far, far worse. And I would say has far more actual consequences on what our government does than any amount of social media virtue signaling.
Right. He was so careful in trying not to trigger the person who goes and spits on a cop at Trader Joe's. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. He's more scared of crop duster Karen than he is the fact that Texas is being ravaged by coronavirus right now.
And no one talks like this.
Yeah.
He's like, his whole face has either surgically or in some weird, like Emperor Palpatine, like the evil energy has warped his appearance, or his whole face is like the fake eyebrow slope of empathy.
He is an eyebrow of a man.
Yeah.
God, what a pathetic coward. Oh my God. Well, I'm not going to go through all the stuff, but you know how pathetic he is if you've been paying attention to American politics. And with that, we don't have much time, so we're going to jump ahead. I don't think we're going to get to that, but maybe at some point. We're going to jump ahead to Garbage People of the Week. Brett, are you ready to go first in just a minute?
Yeah, if you want to go first, though, that'll help.
Sure, I can do that. Just
forget it. I'll do it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, I will intro it. Wait, actually, I need my can, which is full of actual garbage. So we've got that going for us. Nice. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. Okay, as we do every week, we are going to choose our garbage people of the week. The honor goes first to you, Brett Erlich.
My garbage person is Charles Elizabethan Kirk.
Not everybody knows his middle name.
I just made it up.
Why is that?
So I'm one of those people who doesn't know. Listen, he's a fine-looking guy. So this beach ball with a face painted on it essentially said this in a tweet. The NBA basketball season is back, and he says, hilarious to see black NBA players who make millions a year take a knee to try to tell us black people can't succeed in America. Kick them out of the league. Done watching the NBA. Kick them out of the league. Done watching the NBA. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack that is from that compacted garbage compactor of a tweet. First of all, that is not what they're saying.
Wait, the BLM thing is not black people can't succeed in America. That's it. It's more nuanced, more complex than that.
Believe it or not, John, it is more nuanced and more complex than that.
Prove it.
Essentially. Do I got it?
No, of course not.
Fine.
It's ridiculous. It's all he has is straw men. He is a straw man. He's a beach ball mounted on top of a straw man.
And this is exactly what a straw man argument is. A straw man argument is when you mischaracterize the argument of your opponent and then kick down. That's the straw man, and then you annihilate that false representation of what their argument is. They're not saying obviously these successful people are not saying that it is impossible to succeed in America. What they're saying is there are specific injustices that people of color incur every day on the street that white people do not have to experience. And they are asking that we remedy that difference, that we do not have black people incur one kind of horrible reality that white people are able to get away without experiencing.
Yeah.
That is what they're saying. Okay. So that's the one aspect of why he's such a garbage person. The other aspect is someone went through on Twitter and discovered all the times in the past that he has quit the NBA.
Oh, yeah?
So pull up that. Dang, I wish I had the full version of it. I'll get to it in a second. But he, for the last number of years, has complained and whined about why, I have it now, about all the times. And so those are 4 instances dating back to 2013 where he said, if you want to know why I stopped watching the NBA, you saw it tonight. Rigged games, half efforts, receding hairlines, and busters. This was 2013. He was 9 years old. The next one was like, here I am enjoying Christmas in 2015. These NBA players are saying we need more gun control. It just doesn't stop. I thought you quit it 2 years ago. Nope, you're still watching. And then please retweet, little needy. Retweet if you want. Will not watch another NBA game because of their embracing of the evil Chinese Communist Party. This was in October of 2019. Dude, it's like, I can't quit. I wish I knew how to quit you. And he can't with the NBA because this is exposing the grift. We have exposed it. He doesn't watch the NBA, or maybe he does, but either way, when he says he's quitting it, it's not about what those players are saying. It's not about the points they're actually making. It's not even about his like fake counter argument to it. It is just so you will retweet him. As he said, he's like, please retweet if you will not watch another NBA game.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, every single tweet of his is, it might not have that literal thing in it, but it's just that. It's just tweet thirst. It's retweet thirst. That's all it is. And he's not going to allow the fact that he's been quitting it for years stop him because, as we said, grift finds a way. I mean,
find some help. Maybe he's addicted.
Maybe. And by the way, you could do this. I said years ago, I'm not going to listen to music, and I never have since. It's possible. I don't, and I won't abide it.
What kind of music? No,
any music. I don't like it. I don't trust it.
The sound kind.
The sound kind. Yeah, no. And they quit everything. And they quit, by the way, and the right wingers, they quit all of every pop culture like IP. All of it, because it's too SJW, right? So then why do they keep criticizing all the new ones that they watch when they quit it? They hate it because it's SJW, but they keep watching it because it turns out, every creative person is not a hard right winger. Basically, all of the good creative work does not come from fascists.
Just worth mentioning because it's the same thing, essentially. This week, Devin Nunes tweeted, for all you people out there who are still on this Twitter site, parentheses, MySpace too, come join us for some free speech over on Parler. He's tweeting this. Devin Nunes decrying how censorship is happening because of triggered snowflakes when he sued a fictional cow for being able to tweet on Twitter.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He sued that's exactly what it is. You don't believe in free speech. You want freedom from consequence. And you absolutely, in proving what I just said, are advocating for people to come join you in what is essentially a safe space that you need, not me, bruh.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm joking about the music. I do listen to music. It's just not a thing that I do for fun. I don't sit around and listen to music. I do other things. I don't distrust it. It's a joke. But anyway, let's go to mine now. For my garbage person of the week, I almost did Tucker Carlson with his stuff about Obama at the John Lewis thing, but no, it needs to go bigger. And also, I think he was mine last week. I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to put our entire government, both parties, are absolute donkey and elephant garbage, or whatever else comes out of a donkey or an elephant.
It's poop. John,
it's poop. It's poop.
Yeah.
They go in here, and do you know why? Let's talk about why. The Republican-controlled U.S. Senate has adjourned for a 3-day weekend, as enhanced unemployment payments are officially set to lapse on Friday. The chamber is not set to reconvene until 3 p.m. Monday. That's fun. Slightly more than a 3-day thing. As Politico reported Thursday, tens of millions of laid-off American workers will go weeks without federal jobless aid because Congress hasn't renewed the benefits in time for overwhelmed state unemployment systems to adjust their computers. Those computers will need weeks to reprogram to account for an extension of the $600 weekly federal payments that expire on Saturday, or any changes that Congress makes to the benefit amount or eligibility rules. So they left for a long weekend, a weekend that will see two important milestones. One, the ending of those enhanced unemployment benefits. And even if they come back and within a week come up with new ones, anyone on that, like the millions of people that are losing their jobs as we speak, are going to have to wait weeks to actually get the benefits that they desperately need, especially because of the other milestone, which is rent is due again. And by the way, that eviction crisis that we were talking about all week, they're not doing anything about that either. So they're off on a nice long weekend. The pandemic continues to race like wildfire across America. People are losing their jobs. They're going to be losing their apartments and their homes. And our government has done basically nothing to stop it. That is why they're all garbage.
It's so bad. Everything about that. I hadn't seen the part where, and I think earlier in the show I said August recess, but that's what it feels like. But it the fact that it takes so many weeks on the 7th, I think. On the yeah. But the fact that it takes that much like time to reprogram the computers to do something they were doing until like a week ago.
And it's not technically the computer code that needs to be changed. It's restarting a program that will be over. Yeah. But
like that just proves how disconnected they are from the actual experience of being a human.
Mm-hmm.
And like, listen, I'm probably the most like capitalist friendly person on the network, but even still, like this proves that they don't even care about like the realities of the system. The system just get people. This is the part that you need to continue to help people with. You can't just abandon them in these times, because think of every aspect of what you're going to do in the meantime.
Yeah.
You're going to go collect salary for an extra day off. Yep. When you only have to work a small fraction of the year of actually doing anything.
In the best of times. Yeah.
In the best of times. And you got to take this extra day off. Trump literally, he says, he essentially said, I just want something that has checks with my name on it. That's it. And he said, like, so people can pay for stuff like mortgages. I hear that's what people have to pay. And then he said, as for the rest of it, I don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care. He doesn't care. They don't care. We need actual help for people. In the meantime, like, I don't know. It reminds me of like when they don't mess around with like the lapsing of our debt, but they do mess around with the lapsing of your debt.
Yeah.
Or, the debt ceiling. But they don't care about the debt or the ceiling over your head.
Oh, you want an example of that? The bill that the GOP was pushing, they're not anymore now, they're going on recess, included $686 million for the F-35.
Oh, yeah.
And zero for the USPS. Yeah. In the coronavirus stimulus bill, very worried about these advanced jets developing a respiratory illness, apparently. And so that was their priority. Their priority wasn't actually helping people, which is why they're okay with simply going and taking a nice long weekend. And I know some people are probably
a year.
What's that?
$170,000 a year.
Yeah. Some people are probably saying, well, look, isn't that mainly on the GOP? Hypothetically, the Dems want to continue the stimulus or whatever, but they failed. I understand they don't control the Senate. They need to do something, and the sum total of the government's output during a pandemic is zilch. That is what is going to matter, and it is going to be little comfort to people who are thrown out of their apartment and have no money, that in theory the minority party would have done better, I guess. But anyway, really fast, let's go to the community garbage person of the week. Every week we ask you for suggestions. Those are accrued by our amazing producers and then put to a vote on the community tab on the TDR YouTube channel. And that's on Thursday. And so today we have the results. With 13,000 people voting, Bill Barr is the big winner this week with 59% of the vote for serving the president and not the American people, while helping to get the whole fascist thing up off the ground. 17% to Tom Cotton for declaring that slavery is a necessary evil. 9% to Ted Cruz for saying workers don't deserve added unemployment and guaranteeing that everything he eats or drinks from here on out from a fast food place will be spat upon. And Louis Gohmert, 8% for being the dumbest person affected by coronavirus in our country. All great choices. The Bill Barr choice is great. I don't disagree with it, but I mean, they went on recess, or sort of the 3-day recess after that vote, so I had to go with that. So good choices, everybody, though. Brett, we are over. Final thought?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, and watch Happy Half Hour tonight with Bart right after post game.
That's going to be awesome. You have to watch that as well as Common Room later on. Basically, follow us on Twitch so that you know when we go live. We got big things planned. Brett, as always, thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
And really fast, just one or two of these because I have a medical thing that needs to be dealt with very quickly. Lorna says, Ted Cruz and Trump give you the boke, a Glaswegian way of saying they make you feel sick, but in a very derogatory manner. I didn't know that expression, but thank you. Okay. Let's see. Pinkerbell Pixie on Twitch likes Brett's soft pink aura. So he was using his wife's Twitch setup there, which is awesome. I like Pinkerbell's oldest is assembling his own dragon squad. That is awesome. I like that. Okay. Jed Taylor Price says, John, if you want to convince me that you and Brett are attached to each other, you can't use your left arm and Brett can't use his right arm. Well, I switched the shots with my left arm, so the show would be a little bit less dynamic if I were to go with that. Feisty Fan with a super chat says, Ted Cruz is garbage. It is, and he deserved it, but what are you going to do? By the way, Rachel, I see your other super chat saying, Brett, are you broadcasting from a porn studio? That's funny. I don't know if you saw, but I really liked your super chat yesterday. I tweeted out about it. I don't know if you saw that. Okay. Al Mark says, I'd rather watch the Johnster than the Trumpster. Thank you. I don't like either, though, but I like that. Let's see. D. Keller says, hashtag cardboard report. It's coming. It's coming. Just wait. It's going to happen. Okay, and Ginger Red Shoe says, I sing the Garbage People theme song to myself when I take out the trash at home. It amuses me, and me as well. I've grown to love it. Anyway, thank you, everybody. We have to run because I got the thing. Thank you for everybody who's been reaching out about the family issues and everything. I do appreciate that. I have to be vague, obviously, for privacy reasons, but I do appreciate it. And thank you for watching throughout the week. I'm going to be on Common Room hosting it later today. Viviana, who you've all met now, is going to be on it as well as two others. It's going to be awesome, a lot of fun. So definitely look forward to that. And I'll see you soon. Stay safe out there.